Since builders and designers known what we do today about tectonic boundaries, they might not have chosen this spot for a lighthouse. The combination of the African, Arabian and Red Sea rift zones make this a shaky place to build. Given where it had been constructed, the greatest lighthouse the world had ever known was always surviving on borrowed time. A series of earthquakes beginning in 796 AD badly damaged the lighthouse and eventually brought this wonder of the world just crashing down. The second earthquake in 951 AD led to significant cracks appearing in the structure, and 5 years later, in 956 AD, as much as 20 meters of the lighthouse collapsed following yet another earthquake. It seems at this point that it was at least partially rebuilt with an Islamic-style dome replacing the statue above it, but two earthquakes in 1303 AD and 1323 AD finished off this glorious monument once and for all. The 1303 AD earthquake originating in Crete was a particular beast, believed to measure more than 8 on the Richter scale. It also triggered a massive tsunami which swept across the Mediterranean, killing thousands, including many in Alexandria itself. It's not clear whether the lighthouse fell during the earthquake or because of the tsunami waters, but, well, one thing is for certain, and that's that its towering presence was just no more. What was left was said to resemble nothing more than a stub, and in 1480 AD, the lighthouse of Alexandria finally disappeared when the Sultan of Egypt, Quaitbay Bey, ordered a fort to be constructed on the island using some of the fallen stones. Well, we've known all along exactly where it wasn't until a UNESCO-sponsored expedition in 1968 that the remains of the lighthouse were rediscovered in the waters off of Alexandria. However, due to the ongoing political situation in Egypt and the lack of specialized equipment, the expedition was eventually abandoned. But in 1994, a group of French archaeologists began examining what was left of the ancient lighthouse on the seabed of Alexandria's eastern harbour. The finds included blocks of granite between 49 and 60 tons, 30 sphinx heads, and 5 obelisks, which were the tall tapered stone monuments typical from ancient Egypt. There were also examples of columns with engravings dating back to Ramses II, who ruled Egypt between 1279 and 1213 BC. This was around 900 years before the construction of the lighthouse, but these columns may have been reused and reincorporated into its design. In total, 3,300 pieces were catalogued by the end of 1995, and 36 granite blocks that once made up the lighthouse now lie in various museums around Alexandria. But it is possible to scuba dive down to see the ruins that remain, with the Egyptian government still considering a long-held plan to turn the area into a historical underwater park. Since 1978, there have been numerous ideas put forward to rebuild the lighthouse, but nothing has ever come of it. There was even some suggestion of building an enormous skyscraper on the site, but thankfully most agreed that that would have been a bit of an eyesore. It's clear that the Egyptian government wants to do something with the area to commemorate the lighthouse, but due to political and financial problems, this just never really happens. But the lighthouse still remains the symbol of Alexandria, and it appears on both its flag and its official emblem. The lighthouse at Alexandria is but a figment of our imagination today, albeit one that does lie at the bottom of the harbour. This must have been a magnificent structure to behold, but its influence has gone much further than its beam of light ever did. While it certainly wasn't the first, the lighthouse at Alexandria set the standard for lighthouses around the world. Not only that, but as I mentioned earlier, the very word for lighthouse in the Romance languages comes from this rocky outcrop off the Egyptian coast. This great monument of the ancient world may no longer stand, but its influence and legacy is still shining brightly today. So I really hope you found that video interesting. Like I say, it's a bit of a different mega project, and
new Bentley GTC that we're about to drive is possibly the ultimate in British Grand Touring. It's certainly about to be one of my favorites. This video is brought to you by Carl Friedrich. Fabulous machine that we have to play with this one. This is the 2021 Bentley Continental GTC First Edition. What is the first edition, you might want to know, because it costs $48,000. I can't really tell. I looked all over the internet. It pretty much seems like a special interior treatment that has some flags, some Union Jacks with number 1 on it, some extra badging, and then a certain color combination. I don't know about that, but the Bentley GTC is fabulous in so many ways. This one is a V8, comes in coupe and convertible, V8 or W12. My probable favorite would be the V8 coupe, because it's the lightest and most agile. The V8 is the 4-liter twin turbo hot V design. I won't say the same, but similar to what you would get with a Panamera Turbo or an Urus. In this trim, it makes 542 horsepower, 568 pound-feet of torque. That's a bunch. And this thing weighs 5,313 pounds. Also a bunch. But you can see where the weight goes. No one buys a Bentley for it to be light. In fact, kind of the opposite is true. You want to buy a Bentley that feels heavy, luxurious, dense, rich, things that are really associated with luxury. So $225,000 is the base price for this one here, but this one has $75K in options, including the aforementioned first edition package. It's also got the 9 stereo, $8,800, but absolutely incredible. It's got some interesting leathers, which I really like, the massage seats, and more importantly, the Bentley Dynamic Ride, which is the air suspension and adaptive anti-roll control. And you're going to see how well that works in just a second. 22s on this thing, 22-inch wheels, 295 tires, P0 with 16.5-inch brakes. The fact that we're getting 22s on 4-seat coupes, I think it was probably a primary mission of Bentley to get 22s on here and make it look good. Interestingly, the soft convertible top is an optional metallic fabric. It has sort of this nice silvery sheen to it, which is pretty cool. And little bits of fun, you get a 3-year unlimited mile warranty with one of these. So if you really wanted to call their bluff and put as many miles as you could possibly put on a car in 3 years, Bentley GT would be a pretty good option. What else do I need to say? You save a little bit of weight, about 30 pounds versus getting the 12, and it's all out of the nose. You're down 80 horsepower or so compared to the 12, but the 0 to 60 is only a 10th difference, and although I haven't driven the newest 12, in the previous generation of Bentleys, I did prefer the 8 to the 12 in every trim I drove it in. So let's go with the sportiest option, manual mode, and that's really it. There's not a lot of selections to make with this, which is good. Here we go. Now, despite the heft, and despite the 22s, and despite the all-season P0 tires, what I'm about to show you is pretty impressive. 5,313 pounds, and this thing will dance going down the hill. The Bentley Dynamic Ride doing an amazing job of keeping things flat, and the P0s are giving me a little pump
Yes!
before they break loose, which is very good. Steering is nice and direct.
Yes!
The last model was pretty
Third max out. Let's go.
soft.
Let's go.
The old Bentley GT
That might be a personal best also.
great materials, they look great.
Oh, let's go.
Age, but they look great. And they just
Ah.
not that exciting to drive. A V8
That was so close.
could be
It was at 997 at 229 lines. And 230 is the transition to the kill screen. And I got the final touches. Let's go.
with the top down, really
Let's
here's
go.
the turn.
Pretty good. I think that might be personal best.